Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final day of Poetry Week with the Right Hand of Doom. Today's final poem is a rather long one, known as The Highwayman, by Alfred Noyes. It's quite a good poem, even though it's quite lengthy. So those of you at home, sit back in your armchair, relax, and dream of dark things as we listen on. The wind was a torrent of darkness amongst the gusty trees. The moon was a ghastly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He had a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to his thigh. He rode with a jewelled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jewelled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered, and clashed in the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there? The landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. And dark in the dark old inn-yard, a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened. His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollow of madness, his hair like mouldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robbers say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with a yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups, he scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement. His face burnt like a brand, as a black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight! Then he tugged at the reins in the moonlight and galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning, he did not come in the noon, and out of the tawny sunset before the rise of the moon. And when the road was a gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor, a red-coat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead. They gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of a narrow bed. Two of them knelt at a casement, with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through the casement the road that he would ride. They had her tied to attention, with many a sniggering jest. They bound her, a musket beside her, with a muzzle beneath her breast. "Now keep good watch," and they kissed her, and she heard the doomed man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight, I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." She twisted her hand behind her, but the knots all held good. She writhed her hands till the fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained to the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it, the trigger at least was hers. The tip of one finger touched it, she strove no more for the rest. Up she stood to attention, with muzzle beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing, she would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her lover's refrain. Trot, trot, clot, clot, they had heard it. The horse hoofs ringing clear, clot, 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 in the distance. Were they deaf that they could not hear? Down the ribbon of the moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up, straight and still. Clot, clot, in the frosty silence, clot, clot, in the echoing night. Nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head over the musket, drenched with her own blood. Not till the dawn he heard it, and his face grew grey to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched her for her love in the moonlight, and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shouting a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him, and his rapier brandished high. Blood-red were his spurs in the golden noon, wine-red was his velvet coat, when they shot him down on the highway, down like a dog on the highway, and he lay in his blood on the highway, with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still of winter's night they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the olden door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the dark inn-yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair.
As this is the final day of Poetry Week, I want to thank you all for your patience with me. I know it's been some time since I've actually been online. I also want to thank you at home for staying tuned for Poetry Week to continue on. I'd like to thank all the authors who helped provide me with their poems this week, both living and deceased, for their wonderful poems. And I'll be continuing on a regular schedule, hopefully, this week. Thank you for listening. Sweet dreams and pleasant nightmares.